interesting. It's Halloween, so we were obviously, this is behind the curtain talk for everybody. We wanted to figure out a good Halloween topic, and luckily Hellstrom, I wonder why Hulu released it this week of all
in October. Yeah,
that's so strange, but kind of gave us our Halloween theme. But we were bouncing back. So friend of the show, Dave Rosenberg, so shout out to him, Rosie, suggested to us, why don't we review Monster Squad? And that got us talking. You actually said Monster Squad was terrible. I remember it from as I was a kid, and it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great movie. So you had actually suggested, bringing up our favorite 80s, what are our favorite movies, scary movies as a kid? Now, I wouldn't call Monster Squad a scary movie. However, in preparation for potentially discussing that, I did go back and rewatch it. It's not a very good movie, but so I agree with you in the sense that it was not very good. However, I want to come to its defense. It still put me back into my, I guess, when did that movie come out? 1987?
I think it 88. I think that was a 1988 movie.
So, because I was going to say, it was a sense memory time machine, and I was 8 years old again. So when she comes over, so for anybody who doesn't know the premise of the movie or has never seen it, it stars all the Universal Pictures like major monsters, which is Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and the creature from the Black Lagoon. Did I get everybody? I got everybody, right? Wolfman too.
Wolfman. 1987. You were right.
1987. Either way, I was 8 years old. I have we actually have corresponding birthdays. We're both Scorpios, a day apart. So generally. If it's 1987, whatever year it is,
strange.
I know it is. I know whatever year it is generally how old I was. So it was either 7 or I was just turning 8, depending on when I saw it. If it came out in Halloween, then it was right around my birthday, so I was probably turning 8 at that point.
Right.
But anyway, it has all the classic monsters in it, and a Goonies like squad that has to. Stop the end of the world, which happens every 100 years, and all this fun stuff.
There's a caveat about Monster Squad, though.
What's that?
I will just drop for you while you're talking about it.
Yes.
The sequence in Monster Squad where Dracula is seen on the military cargo plane, and I'm remembering this from memory because I haven't seen it recently.
Yes.
And he turns into a bat. Is the first time since Abbott and Costello meet Dracula.
Okay.
That there is a special effect of a man actually becoming a bat.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Dropping some knowledge there.
That was a big deal when we were young, when I was young with another squad of geeks and we watched that movie for the first time. So there you go for that.
What's really funny about it though is Shane Black, Die Hard Shane Black, right? Isn't he Die Hard, or what's Shane Black do? He's a guy.
Shane Black is Die Hard.
Yeah, he wrote it, which is really hilarious. Oh, Predator, Shane Black, Predator. Okay.
Yeah, the same guy.
Yeah. But I'm saying he was he was Predator, and he was also, I believe, Die Hard. Yes, exactly. He wrote Die Hard, and
and Lethal Weapon.
And Lethal Weapon, right?
And Iron Man 3. I mean, Shane Black is very active,
and that's something I wouldn't have known as an 8-year-old.
He co-wrote it, but he was the machine behind it.
And the great Stan Winston did all the costumes.
Look, man, a lot of those special effects were great. Like some of the sequences were great. Yeah,
for back then, because the one where the Virgin gets sucked into the portal was a little. That was
on par. Those those were state of the art special effects. And then to see state-of-the-art special effects for the Universal's monsters was the selling point of Monster Squad at that time.
No, and you know what? It absolutely was, and it was also, again, like you said, on par. Kids today, I mean, I actually laugh because I see tweets of like kids who grew up in the 90s, who were like 7 or 8 years old in the 90s versus being like 7 or 8 years old in the 80s. And they're like, haha, I remember when this happened. And I'm like, you have no idea what it was like just a decade earlier, like in terms of movies. Those were the special effects. And you just had a general, I think I've said this on previous shows, especially if you were a kid, even if you were probably a teenager, you just kind of accepted it because it was the best thing you'd ever seen. You know what I mean? Like that scene in Ghostbusters when
isn't that kind of how we do things now? Isn't that how we look at things now? This is, that's pretty good. That's that's the best it's ever looked, right. So and we're going to be floored.
You had an acceptance that they couldn't do better. You knew like now some movies you sit there and go, wow, they could have done better even back then. Like you did realize the difference.
Yeah, there were bad movies back then. There were some bad special effects extravaganzas back then.
Right, you did, and you're like, this is not as good as like what I just saw in like Big Trouble in Little China, or this is not as good as what I saw in like The Goonies, or you did have comparables.
You could see the money on the screen. Yeah. In other words,
exactly. But anyway, so but the movie does have some positives, and it did take me back to being 8 years old when she's holding Frankenstein's hand and she's yelling at all of them. Don't be chicken S. Don't be chicken S. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, it was like cursing in a film, especially at like 8 years old, was like a big deal. And she's like, "Don't be chicken ass," and she's like 5 years old, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I'd look around for my parents and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you right now, Monster Squad as a movie, I mean, really thrown together poorly. Still an enjoyable ride for
Still
Mr.
got
Mike
the
Dolce.
nostalgia pang.
For Mike Dolce.
Yeah, okay. All right.
An enjoyable.
My Monster Squad experience was weird because I was going to the theater to see something else. I don't remember what it was. It might have been like 1987. Could have been anything. Yeah. But it was a double feature. So they were, but it wasn't. Let me get that right. It wasn't. I didn't pay for a double feature. It was one of those theaters that were showing two movies. They would show Monster Squad in that theater, and then at 6 they would show another movie, and then at 7 they would maybe show Monster Squad again. It was one of those kind of situations. In the Bronx, we didn't have multiplexes. We didn't have that many multiplexes. So a lot of the movie theaters just had to trade off movies every now and then in order to keep a schedule. So I remember going into the movies, and I didn't realize what movie I was watching. I was watching the end of it because I was there to see something else, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the other thing I was there to see was. But anyway, it doesn't matter. And so I saw I saw most of the last battle, but I didn't know what was going on. And then I saw the kid at the end where the military shows up. "We're the monsters, son," and he says, "Who are you?" It's like, "We're the Monster Squad." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess this is Monster Squad." And then they ended with the song and everything, and you're like, "All right," Now I saw it years later on cable, and look, I was a kid. I wasn't thinking, well, this is not a quality movie. You know, like I wasn't thinking that. I was like, all right, Monster Squad's, everything was trying at that time. Everything was trying to be Goonies. Everything.
Well, that's exactly it. And that's the part that got me so frustrated because as a not 8-year-old, I was like, oh my god, but it made no sense as to. I mean, it literally had a chunk double, like it had the guy and they would just call him Fat Kid, like they weren't even
yes
like they weren't
the one who gave us the very famous Wolfman's Got Nards line. And you know what's funny, not to get off on a tangent, it's none of those movies really could be the Goonies. Like the Goonies had a special chemistry because of the director and because of the production, in general.
Arguably the greatest
Richard
I
Donner,
want to say the greatest director, but probably a specific, maybe arguably the most versatile greatest director of all time, right? Like he's done everything from serious to blockbuster to kid friendly and done it all at a high level.
There haven't been too many bad Richard Donner movies, but when it's Richard Donner, it's like a lot of times you'll watch a movie and not know, oh, this was another Richard Donner, because as you say, he was very eclectic. He made all kinds of different movies. So. And then it had it was Spielberg was behind it. It was
that's what I was gonna say. Spielberg, right? Exactly. I mean, you have
So, and so everything that tried to be Goonies just was so blatantly not Goonies,
right?
That it's just like the same thing now with Stranger Things. Everything comes along and tries to be Stranger Things,
right?
And it's not. The closest thing was It, and it had most of the Stranger Things kids in it. So
exactly.
Well, it had at least one of them. I'm sorry. I don't mean to misspeak. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Monster Squad, it has a special place. When I was saying it's not that great a movie, it's not. But I mean, it's a big part of it's a big part of that era of, you know, that 80s, that late 80s era where, you know, so 84 to 80, you know, to 90 have some of the most legendary nostalgia moments for, you know, for our generation that exists. So yeah,
and we won't even get into, because I want to get onto the Rogue Rage segment, but we won't even get into House, which is one of my favorite movies. And
yeah, House was scary. I saw House at camp, at sleepaway
streams
camp.
for free on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime. I just, you know, doing my research here. And The Gate, which is also another movie. I saw stills from The Gate, and and that all of a sudden was like, oh, I remember that movie too.
With Stephen Dorff as a kid. So
we won't get into them as reviews, and that was our Monster Squad review, Rosie, or non-review. I hope you enjoy it. But definitely a lot of fun Halloween viewing that I will be doing over the course of the next couple of days. Pretty exciting. All right.